following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome everyone, Metro Hockey Podcast, Metro Hockey fans alike. Welcome to the Three Rails Metro Hockey Podcast, No Credentials Required podcast. We are a part of the Belly Up Sports Media Network. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the hosts, and I represent the New Jersey Devils fandom. But I'll bring in my co-hosts. The first co-host is currently in Connecticut, but he's a big New York Rangers fan. He's got a headset tonight. Brian Germanaro. Right. How are you doing tonight?
I feel a little stupid waking up for the Giants this morning. That seemed like a pretty waste of time. Could have got another hour of sleep in instead of watching that.
Well, I went to church, so I didn't see the game, but I heard Daniel.
That was probably better too. Probably anything you could have done.
Better, actually.
The game.
It was better. But on a happier note, your Rangers are doing fairly well. Had a decent week this week, but well, actually not. Well, yeah,
1-1. We'll get to it.
Up and downs. We'll get to it. But my next co-host I'm going to bring in is he's an Islanders fan. He's a Seahawks fan, and I'm not really sure why. But Staniel Smooth. Staniel, how are we doing today?
Dude, I've asked myself that question for years, but that's okay. Yeah. You know how often I've been asked that question? Why aren't you a Jets fan? Because I hate eternal torment. I'm sorry, Ryan.
That's a worse question.
That's like, why I balance things out by being a Yankees fan and a New Jersey Devils fan.
It's like, Jesus, I'm just an Islander fan here. I don't need more. I don't need to be seduced by more pain. What am I, a masochist?
Oh, I know some people who are Jets fans, Mets fans, Knicks fans, and Islanders fans. So
listen, we don't kink shame in this department. We don't kink shame in this department by any stretch.
Oh no, I'm not kink shaming.
No, we don't kink shame in this department by any stretch. But at some point in your life, you have to question your life decisions.
It could be worse. You could be a Cleveland sports fan.
I don't know. Cleveland has a championship in the last.
True. They had the LeBron era. Like, at least you were happy during that.
No, just one in the last 60 years. I mean, come on, one.
I know, but like the Mets, Jets, now at least the Cavs were like in the finals 4 straight years.
To be fair, Seattle sports has 2 championships since the '60s. One with the Supersonics back in the early '70s,
1977,
and the Seahawks in 2013. Technically, they have 1 if you count.
Yeah.
I mean, no, because ownership and stuff like that. That's the thing. If the Sonics were still around, I'd have jerseys for them. I would.
The most delicious part about the Kraken being existing period is that when
Crackheads.
No, hold on, let me finish. So when the Seattle Sonics were bought and then relocated to Oklahoma City, David Stern said, "Yeah, we're gonna have the Supersonics back." Here it is. What? Almost 20 years.
It's almost 20 years. Yeah.
Almost 20 years later, they're still not there, and the fact that Gary Bettman saw a need and swooped in and said, "I'm gonna eat your lunch."
Let's also be real here. NBA expansion has been incoming since the Golden Knights inception in 2018.
Oh, for sure.
It's been incoming. The problem here is that we don't know when. We have no idea when.
Yeah.
And
the last time I heard it was 2027 or 2028.
I think it's going to come sooner than you think.
I think it's coming when LeBron retires. I think
it's going to come before that. Because when's the CBA up for the NBA? Does anyone know?
NBA.
Late 2020, maybe 2031.
I think it has to be sooner than that.
2030.
Okay, 2030.
It was ratified in 2023.
I think we're going to have serious expansion talks this year and probably next year, because bringing the NHL into this equation, the NHL saw Utah and went, "Oh, money pit. Ryan Smith can run a franchise." To be determined with the Utah Jazz, but especially because Seattle's a sports town. That is a very sports heavy area.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mariners ownership, just will cross that bridge down the road.
Is it still Nintendo? Are they still owned by Nintendo? Are they still owned by Nintendo? The Mariners?
No, John Stan is the owner of the Seattle Mariners. The rumor has it that Jody Allen, who is the late Paul Allen's sister, who currently has a majority stake in the Seahawks, the rumor's going around that they could sell the Seahawks in 25 or 26.
Really?
And who is an eccentric billionaire that is from that area that has been trying to get into the NFL ownership stake?
Who?
Hall of Fame worthy reference, Ryan. Bezos. You're telling me Jeff Bezos wouldn't pounce on the Seahawks if given the chance? And if he gets the opportunity to bring the NBA back to Seattle, he's doing it. That man is loaded with pockets. And if Seattle's coming, Vegas is soon to follow.
I'm surprised Steve Ballmer hasn't put his name in the book in the running.
Ballmer owns the Clippers. Ballmer owns the Clippers, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Who the hell else did I know of? I'm thinking of who's the Rams owner again?
Stan Kroenke.
Stan Kroenke, because he owns the Avalanche, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He owns the Avalanche, so that leaves that out of the equation. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because we have no information about any expansion. All that we know is that it's incoming. It's been incoming since the Knights won the Cup, and since the Kraken's inception.
Yep.
Let's be honest here.
And we'll probably get two more NHL expansion teams in the next 10 years.
I doubt
no,
it.
I hope not.
I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
I doubt it. Because
I have to see anything. I have to see any kind of talks. I mean, Atlanta's stirring up again.
I hate Atlanta. Atlanta be such a mistake.
Atlanta, Houston, and Quebec. Like, those are the three that want to get in.
Well, Quebec has, I know this for a fact, Quebec has basically said with an iron tongue, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing it. Like, we would like to, but we're not doing it because they're right in the middle of Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto. That's a nightmare, but then again, it is Canada, so it's Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
But Canada's wanted an eighth team for a
decades.
While. Yeah, since the Nordiques moved, they've been wanting a team. So, and they got an owner with deep pockets in Montreal, in Quebec already. He owns Videotron. He also owns the Montreal Alouettes CFL team. Sad to see their season end yesterday.
Yeah.
But at least the Thrashers had terrible ownership from the beginning. That's why they got screwed.
Also, Atlanta's not a hockey town.
Yeah, it's not. The Flames.
Atlanta's not
you
a
would be
town.
surprised. You would be you'd be surprised.
They've had two teams there in
exactly,
Atlanta.
that's
Northern
the
transplants.
They've had two teams in Atlanta since the 70s.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Flames and the Thrashers, which lasted for 15 years. You could argue that the Thrashers could have been something, but at the same point, they had terrible ownership. So really, it wouldn't make a slew of a difference. Unless if you're willing... I don't know. That's the thing, because I think you want to see how this 32-team thing is going to go, because more games are going to be incoming. It's going to go from 82 games to probably 86 games, especially if you get the new CBA agreement going in play.
I mean, we'll touch up on that a little bit.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But
we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But in the meantime, go ahead. Follow us on social media, not just No Credentials Required, but all these guys. But for No Credentials Required, there's on screen: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and on the podcast side, you can subscribe to the podcast using any podcast outlet, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, yada yada yada, and get yourself notified on Twitter. I'm still not going to call it X, even with Elon joining the Trump administration, and YouTube. That way, you know when new recordings of this episode will go up. Next week will be preempted. We'll be actually recording this our next episode on Monday as opposed to Sunday because I got stuff going on between the hockey game and watching the Grey Cup. So I will be we'll be preempted. We'll release a new episode on Tuesday instead of Mondays. You could also rate, review, and leave a comment in the comment section on the YouTube side. On the podcast side, rate and review. A 5-star rating will be really excellent. Leave a review. If you can leave a podcast review on your preferred platform. On Spotify, you can now leave comments for every episode. So it'd be helpful if you left us a rating, and if you left us a comment on the Spotify side. That'd be great. All right, let's
I look
get
like
into
a bearded Clark Kent. Don't I? Look at that shit.
Oh yeah, with this, the hair,
Look at the hair. It looks like a bearded Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Kneel before
Superman had a beard.
Kneel before Zod. That's what you look like. You look like Zod.
Zod in the Young Justice shows was fantastic. I don't know if you've ever seen Young Justice at all.
No, I just remember the old school Superman movies from way back then when the three
That is the
Kryptons.
sole purpose on which I was born. That is what you have taken from me. Michael Shannon, ladies and gentlemen.
Well then,
All
let's
right.
talk about,
On that note,
let's talk about what's going on on the island. The fact that I put Ziggy Poppy in there as the Gordon's Fisherman with the Gordon's Fisherman. jersey.
Listen, I'm like a dog with a bone. You just gotta give a dog a bone and let the man chew. You know, I'm like Jim Cornette. I could go for hours on one topic.
Oy vey.
I mean, that's not a bad thing to have.
No, it's not, because it gives me a lot to say. And you guys like my scarf and shit?
Yeah.
Ew.
I found it in the closet and stuff like that. Very flamboyant, you know what I'm saying?
Speaking of the Fisherman's logo, I love that the minor league team for the Islanders went back to it. I went to the
Bridgeport,
game. Yeah, I have it right here.
It's not a bad logo.
No, it's not.
For a minor
really
league team,
not.
it's perfect.
It's
just
really
a bad
not a
color
bad
scheme.
logo, considering the fact that Long Island's history is based off a lot of fishing tales. So
Yeah.
That's
Doesn't
what
Billy
people
Joel have a
completely
song
forget.
about a fisherman?
What's up?
Doesn't Billy Joel have a song about like a fisherman?
Not that I remember off the top of my head, but there's a lot of oyster. There's a lot of oyster
Down
farming
Easter
that goes
Alexa.
down here.
That's what it is.
Thank
Down
you.
Easter Alexa.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of oyster and clamming that goes along down here. So,
Can you name the album that song is from?
Stranger?
Stormfront.
close enough. So I'm not that. I gotta look up more of my Billy Joel. I gotta text Mama about that. She's a Billy Joel nutcase. So the
What
Islanders.
happened with the Islanders this week?
Oh boy, just give a dog a bone. You know what I'm saying? Aside from the Rangers game last week, they've been. I don't know what happened with Patrick Waugh, because he basically decided to like throw each of these guys in the locker and throw the door on them repeatedly while having a days-old peanut butter sandwich in the locker room as torture and as punishment. Very, very graphic, but understandably so. It's they were 2-1 in these last three games. They had a shootout win over Pittsburgh at home, nice win in Ottawa, and then they played really well against the Devils until they decided to blow a 3-1 lead. It's
4 minutes 29 seconds left in the third period, and Devils scored twice to go OT.
But again, I'll say this again: Elias Sorokin has played like a god this season. He really has. He's been unbelievable. And who would have thought back surgery has really helped? And Noah Dobson, again, I don't know what's been going on with him. Maybe he's playing with some phantom injury, but like Scott Mayfield was last season. But the difference between Mayfield and Dobson is that Dobson's a free agent at the end of the season. So, gentlemen, do we like to play a game?
I love games.
Sure, Jigsaw. What's up?
Yeah, really.
Ryan got that. I'm proud of him. Do you want to play a game?
there's a great. This, by the way, this is going off topic here, going off the rails. The Three Rails Metro podcast. There's a great parody sketch by Dave Landau in Normal World. They parody Jigsaw.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he got it.
But I don't know if, unless Dobson can get his stinking Attica again, it's November. We're on November 10th. So it might be a phantom injury that keeps him out of the lineup for a couple months. We'll never know. Especially with the emergence of, have you seen this kid, Isaiah George?
Yes. Yeah, I saw him playing Bridgeport. He's great.
Unbelievable. He reminds me of prime Nick Leddy.
Yeah.
He skates really well. He moves the puck. He dishes it out really well. He's got a really good shot too. And he's only 20. He's 20 years old.
He was born in 2004, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Apologies, Ryan.
Telling me.
It's like the scene from The Mummy where he just the Brendan Fraser Mummy films where he's just like slightly half petrified and then half normal face. That's what Ryan's feeling right now.
This is what I really feel like. I think I'm gonna die. Anyway, keep going.
But it's Varlamov's played really well. Andersley's had a really nice year so far, and I didn't want to panic, but it was fresh off the Rangers loss, and then I had to take it with a grain of salt and go, you know what? It's still early. If they did this in March or February, then I would decide to panic. But Mike Riley is out long term after a nasty hit over a few games back, so that doesn't help. I think it was up in Ottawa. He took a nasty boarding hit, which, by the way, should have been a boarding penalty in a 5-minute major, but it wasn't. So, leave it up to the league about that. Pellick's out for a little bit. Romanov's out for a little bit. And then Grant and Hutton, they've called out a couple of their prospects, Grant and Hutton being one of them, and then Dennis Cholofsky, who scored the only 2 goals by an Islanders defenseman this season, are from him.
That's
hysterical.
Crazy.
Hysterical. But I'm very curious to see where the lineup is or how the lineup is constructed when Barzal and Duclair eventually come back. Because Pajot, who's your third-line center, is now one of your top-line wingers. And he's played really well since being paired with Horvat. I don't know if you move Duclair down to the second line, considering the fact that he's not getting paid more than Pajot is, and you keep Barzal on the top line. Because that means you essentially have 3 centermen on your top line. And Cizikas is probably your better is your third line center. McLean is your fourth line guy. Wallstrom's played well-ish. And then Nelson decides to pick it up every now and then wherever he shall please. It's always the Minnesota guys. I don't know why. They just pick it up at random times.
Yeah.
It happens. What are you gonna do? But overall, not a bad week, not a disappointing week. It was an okay week at best. So,
well, you kind of
last week.
You kind of stayed where you were from last week. The Islanders, as of this recording, they're 6-6-3. You're in a point from last night's loss against New Jersey.
They're not bad, and people need to realize that they're not a bad team. It's just the expectations of a majority of hockey fans need to go down. Just relax.
Yeah, I mean, if you can grab at least 3 points in a 3-game week, it's not a bad week. If anything over that is a good week.
I think the Metro is wide open.
It is. 100%
The Metro's wide open.
You got 4 teams. You could 4, maybe 5 teams who could legitimately win this division right now.
You have realistically in the entire Metro division, especially if Pittsburgh gets hot, you have 6.
I was just saying 6, yeah, because you can't count
Pittsburgh suspect.
I know, but it's just like
especially if they get hot is the problem. And
you want to bet against Crosby and all that, like I don't want to bet against that.
We're not
No, I
betting
want to bet
against
their
Crosby.
defense and goaltending.
Yeah.
We're not betting against Crosby. It's that Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson are in their 15th and 16th seasons.
Yeah.
They are turnstiles at this point, and they're not great defenders, especially Letang.
Yeah.
Erik Karlsson is an offensive defenseman. He's not a particularly great defenseman nowadays. He was when he was in Ottawa in the early days in San Jose, but nowadays it's like, okay, I'm just gonna get 5 points a night and be done with it. So, which is not bad, but at the same point, it's like you shouldn't win the Norris that way. It's like, okay, if you were the best overall defenseman in the league, if you allow the fewest goals, great, that's awesome. If your plus is like, if your plus minus like, I don't know, plus 45 or 50 or above, then you should qualify for the Norris. That's just me.
That was Scott Stevens back in 93, 94. He had to get 50 plus 54.
Isn't Scotty in the Hall of Fame?
I believe Scott Stevens is in the Hall of Fame.
Scott Stevens is in the Hall of Fame. He has to be.
Got it.
He has to be.
Looking right now.
I don't think so. Doesn't pop up on Wikipedia.
Really?
Oh, no, he was. In 07, he was inducted.
07, about to say. Scott Stevens should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago.
Yep. Yeah, he had the record for most games by defenseman before Chara broke it.
Oh, yeah. Chara's in the Hall. Chara got in the Hall of Fame recently, right?
Chara, I believe. Well, we'll talk. Actually,
yeah, we'll get to that later.
Foreshadowing.
My fault. I tend to do these things.
About Chara. Fun facts about Chara. He has run the Boston Marathon, and he is
pretty hard to notice him.
And he's a licensed real estate agent in the Boston area.
How do those things usually go? Does he specifically like license for houses that with low hanging ceilings?
Condominiums, basically.
What is it like?
Hello, my name's Zdeno. I sell house.
I sell house.
You can't do that right. Hold on. I gotta get into character real quick.
I don't really do Slavic characters real well.
You dare disrespect Mother Russia. Hello, my name is Zdeno Tara. I happen to be former defenseman for Boston. Also, I sell houses for a living. Ain't that nice?
Well, he's Slovakian, but
close enough.
Close enough.
He's Soviet Union at one point.
It's still Eastern European. It's fine.
Former Iron Curtain.
Yeah. They're communists.
And former New York Islander.
Hey, two-time New York Islander. Drafted and retired with the team, too.
Hey, all right.
Hey, we like these things.
Yeah, we do. All right, so Islanders next week. You get the West Coast trip. Edmonton, Vancouver, and Seattle.
The West Coast trip has actually been... The Western Canada trip has actually been really kind to them as of recently.
Well, then you got Calgary and then Detroit. You got a 5-game road trip.
Yeah, 5-game road trip. If this were the California trip plus the Western Canada trip, I would have a problem because the California road trip has not been very kind to them as of recently. Thank you to the Los Angeles Kings for that perspective.
Yeah, the Los Angeles Kings who. Other than Enzi Kopitar, I can't name a single person on that team.
Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty. Yeah.
They're not a bad team.
They're not a bad team, but they're not notable.
The thing, Jack, my co-host, can tell you about this is that the Kings will have the ability to put up 7 every night, while also letting up 5 a night. It's infuriating.
Well, they're first place in the Pacific currently with 2 games up on Vegas, but
that's the thing.
Which is pretty nutty.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like Los Angeles, they're really good on paper. They made some really nice moves. Kevin Fiala, blanking on his name. Philip Deneau, they made some really nice moves over the years, and you got to credit Rob Blake, the GM. For that. Also, Kings legend. And they took the Jonathan Quick deal, which was essentially a death nail for them and for the fan base. And they took it as, let's go get better talent and better goaltending, which work in progress for the Kings. But
Yeah.
Former Islander power play specialist Jim Hiller is the head coach of the Kings now, and he's done a good job over in LA.
Yeah.
Shocker.
But Islanders, good week this week. This week's gonna good week last week. This week I got a 5-game roadie. Who's in charge of scheduling at UBS Arena? 5-game roadie. Jeez. What's coming to town?
Listen, I could go on a tangent about the scheduling of a lot of crap, particularly with teams like the teams that I root for. But I choose not to because that's one thing I'm not.
Disney on Ice.
Oh,
you've got to be kidding me!
November 13th
Disney
through
on Ice.
17th. You got your boys are a 5-game roadie because of Disney on Ice.
You know what? I deserve that. I deserve that. After last week's debacle of drinking 1, 2, 3, 4, was it 3 or 4 Jack and Gins went down the hill?
I think you had 2 on the air while we were recording.
I had 2. I must have had 3 because that
kept going
was not kind. Because going to sleep was not kind to me.
Oh yeah.
Mm-mm.
I could imagine.
Nope.
I had Dire Docks from Mario 64, the music playing in my head, and it was fantastic going to sleep to that. That's a very obscure reference, but here we are.
All right, I think it's safe to say that we're going to go off the island and into the city now.
Please do.
All right, let's bring in Brian. How was this week in your eyes? How was this week for the Rangers?
It was all right. Like I think the main story that everybody saw was the 6-0 loss to Buffalo, which has to be the main story of the week because it was a game where Igor Shesterkin just did not look good. He got pulled halfway during the game, and I think a lot of Ranger fans began to. I don't want to say they panicked, but they're like, "Oh no, here we go again." Here's the sign that we're relying too much on Igor Shesterkin and the goaltending to kind of, carry us through. And when they don't have it, this team isn't as good as they say they are, which is fair because we saw it again last night where the Rangers they didn't play horrible like they did in Buffalo, but they played all right. But they were saved by Jonathan Quick having a 35 save night. And also because the Red Wings are not great. That helps a lot. But if you're the Rangers, I think you have to definitely look at the Buffalo game and be like, okay, that stuff happens. It's an 82-game season. It's a marathon. You're going to have nights like that, nights where the guys just drop a game. But at the same time, you could also look at it and be like, okay, what can we do that we're not so one-dimensional? We're not relying on Igor Shesterkin so much. And that has to be this defensive core has to get better. I'm not saying it's all on the defensemen because, Trocheck hasn't been great on the defense. Neither has Riley Smith. I expect them to turn around because we've only played like 14 games in the season. So yeah, we played 14 games. So
13.
Yeah,
13.
Yeah. So it's not, I'm not saying it's time to raise alarm and burn everything down, but at this point, we're kind of learning what this team is. And I think that's a major issue going to deadline is how can you get this team better defensively? They're going to have to go out and trade for a top 4 defenseman, I think, because Zach Jones really can't play reliable NHL minutes. They're going to go out and have to maybe find a defensive forward that you could stick in the bottom 6, especially for playoff hockey where it's a more physical and gritty game and not take some of that pressure away from Igor Shesterkin. So it's not all on him. And in case, the lineup goes cold, in case he goes cold one night, which, I know Igor Shesterkin is the best goaltender in the league, but it happens to goalies. There is something that we can do in order to, kind of bail him out where it's not all on him.
I have idea.
Okay, what's your idea?
I have idea.
I'm excited.
So you mentioned the trade deadline, and when there's a certain team that was the offseason champions of the NHL, Nashville.
They need a banner for that.
Nashville.
They 100% need a banner for that.
What are the odds that they trade at the deadline, depending on how the season goes for the Predators. How much you want to bet Roman Rossi's on the market? How much you want to bet?
With that contract?
I'm gonna say the
With that
contract.
With the contract, you can afford it.
Doubt
If
it.
it's a 1 year rental.
No, it's 3 more years after a $9 million cap hit.
Okay, so you
You have
might
to
have
something in return for
you
that.
need to move somebody in return in that case. But if your defense continues to struggle until March, February, I'd consider, especially if Nashville's willing to retain a good chunk of their salary
I mean,
of Yossi.
you definitely have to consider, especially getting a player like Yossi, and if Nashville is willing to eat the contract, it's just who do you move at that point? Like, is the team willing to take on Jacob Trouba halfway during the year? Like, I doubt
No.
it. Like,
No,
exactly.
I'm not
Like,
saying Truba. It has
no,
to be one
he'd
of
be
your
the main guy
forwards.
you would think of to move. But then you gotta like think of Lindgren would be a guy you could possibly move who's pretty banged up and kind of washed.
How's Trocheck been?
He's been okay offensively. Defensively, he's not been great.
Because that's the first guy I thought of.
I mean, that's definitely possible. But some fans, and so I don't know what the team thinks, saw the line of Lafreniere, Panarin, and Trocheck as the team's best line. Do you really want to take a player? I know the lines aren't together right now, but do you want to take that away?
I'm also speaking from the business perspective here.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
You're a team that, essentially, for 3 of the last 4 years, for 2 of the last, two of the last 3 years, 2 of the last 3 years, has made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. You are right there.
Mm-hmm.
You're right there. And
You're right there, but the window's starting to close.
Oh, 100%.
That's the problem.
This is the last year of the core.
This
like,
is your last
shot.
shot.
Bad.
Yeah.
This
Especially
is your last shot.
Especially if Shesterkin goes to free agency. And
I don't
decides
think
not to-
he goes to free agency regardless, because the Rangers are, from what I've read and what what the people I've talked to, they've all said the same thing. He's staying with the Rangers. It's a matter of when.
Yeah.
Because Dolan's gonna pay. Dolan's gonna give him
You're
a
not
blank
going
check and say,
walk
write
out the
it.
door for nothing.
But here's the thing too. I mean, this is back in the 90s. Yeah, I could see that because there was no salary cap. The Rangers paid big money for free agents. They managed to bring in Wayne Gretzky for a couple
Mark
seasons.
Messier.
Mark
Messier. Well, Mark Messier
Mark
was a
Messier is a
trade,
perfect
but he
example.
Trade, and then he got back. He
and he
re-signed
came-
him.
Yeah, he signed back. Then he went to Vancouver to end his career.
You want to piss off any Canucks fan? Mention Mark Messier.
Oh man. Well, that in the 2011 Stanley Cup.
I think they get pissed off of Messier more because Messier's screwed them so bad.
Oh my gosh, that was an albatross.
Hilarious.
Right there. But I mean, you got to think of the economic structure of this team because look, this is now a cap league. This is now a cap league, and you got to spend smartly, and you got to spend wisely, especially for guys who are in your system. Like they awarded Adam Fox with a huge contract a few years back.
Yeah.
But they also brought in pieces like Zibanejad, who they traded for. Panarin was a free agent. Chris Kreider, he was there. He's been in the system forever.
Yeah.
Along with Ketel and Lafreniere.
But Kakko too. Kakko maybe.
A good.
Kakko's an RFA after this year.
He's an extension guy too. Like he could sneaky find himself a lower term contract, but he could find himself in the bottom 6 in the Rangers for a while.
I don't think a problem. So the problem with keeping the band together, and you're seeing it a lot more with teams like, say, Pittsburgh, Detroit in years past, the Kings, the aforementioned Los Angeles Kings, is that it tends to bite you in the ass if you keep the band together for a long period of time, and then you need to make these serious financial decisions, even if it hurts the fan base, because in the end, business comes first, and that's the hard fact of reality for a lot of NHL teams. I don't think the Islanders wanted to trade Anthony Beauvillier and Atsu, who's their top prospect, plus a first-round pick for Bo Horvat. But in the end, Lou said, hey, we have an opportunity to get one of the best centermen on the market for this much. If it means trading Beauvillier, do it. And they did. And Bo wanted to come here. So, but I digress. You got to make some serious financial decisions, even if it means trading Trocheck, trading Kako, letting guys like Truba walk and making Adam Fox the captain.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
Or Kreider the captain, or one of those
No,
guys.
it's going to be Fox. Fox is the
It's
captain.
going to be Fox, but you know what I mean. And then having Panarin take a pay cut or something like that, or Zibanejad take a pay cut, or some of these guys, it means, hey, we get to keep arguably the top 3 goaltender in the entire league. And you might need to do these things, because Drew, I give him credit. He's done a good job.
I think it'd be Mika to take. If it were to be either Mika or Panarin, it'd probably be Mika, because Panarin's contract is up in 2 years. So, Mika's more the long-term guy they have to deal with. Yeah. That's a big reason for the Rangers.
One.
Yeah, it's coming off the books.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they had longer than. I thought they had 3 or 4 more years.
No, it's a lot shorter than you think it is. Yeah, they only have a couple more years left for Panarin. And then, that's a whole different conversation if you want to resign Artemi Panarin. He's been unbelievable in the regular season, but up really flat in the
playoffs.
Yeah,
he's gone. From 1 to 10, my friend, you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a question. The Rangers have only lost 3 games this year. 2 of them have come. One came last week against the Washington Capitals. One came this week against the Buffalo Sabres. In your opinion, you could say, judging from the score, one loss was worse than the other. But which of these losses were worse? Was it Buffalo or was it Washington?
I honestly think it was Washington, because if you watch that game, the entire Rangers team is just you watch that first period of that Capitals game, they are a no-show. I think they only had 3 shots the entire period. They were really, really bad in that first period. And they had their moments, but the team just looked lost offensively. Whereas in the Buffalo game, it was a really bad, the final score looked really bad, but it's against a team like Buffalo, stuff, that kind of stuff just happens. You play, you kind of overlook an opponent, and then, they kind of punch you in the mouth. The Capitals went to that game, and they're like, we want revenge on the Rangers for the postseason last year. It's a measuring stick game for us, knowing how good we are. Now the Capitals are, gaining confidence. They're in our division, and they know they can go out there and beat us, and they know how to now. So I think the Capitals is a worse loss.
You also play Winnipeg as your next game.
That's terrifies me.
Undefeated Winnipeg, by the way.
The Winnipeg game terrifies me.
One loss now?
One loss.
So I was wrong. Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, thank God it's in the Garden, but it terrifies me, because that's going to be a really, because the Rangers, I don't want to say the Rangers are on a cold streak, because we're 13 games in. But if you look at the schedule breakdown, in the last 6 games, they've gone last 5 games they're 3-2, compared to before that where they were they only lost 2 games and won 5. They're 5-2. They've cooled down a little bit for the start of the season. So are they meeting the Winnipeg at the right time?
It's a home game too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a home game, which helps us. But coming off the week we did, with the team still not playing great, I really don't want to play Winnipeg now, especially how good they are.
It's a whole different hammer and sickle.
It's going back to the Soviet Union.
Mother Russia. All right, let's look at the Rangers this week.
Like Sasha Barkov. But instead he is like Sasha Scarlet.
So look at the Rangers schedule. This week they got Tuesday the Jets, Thursday against the Sharks, and then the following Sunday against the Rangers schedule is just staggered.
Yeah, it's weird.
Crazy.
It's
they only played twice last week. They're only playing twice this week. Then they go on a 3-game roadie in the West Coast. Sorry, 4-game roadie on the West Coast.
4 games out. Yeah, on the
What's
West Coast.
coming to town? The Madison Square Garden.
What concert is it?
Let's take a look.
Actually, it might be the Knicks. The Knicks too. It could be the Knicks.
Watch it be like Jelly Roll or some generic terrible rapper.
Oh, I hope. That'd be so bad.
I have a new rapper name, Lil Bacon.
little bacon.
Definitely not kosher.
Nope.
Oh, so the 15th. So Friday is Knicks Nets. Saturday is UFC 309.
Oh, really?
Sunday, then St. John's, the Knicks again. Then Dave Matthews Band's playing on the 20th on Black Friday.
They're still
The
around?
22nd. Yes. So you got 3 next games: UFC, NCAA basketball, and then Dave Matthews Band.
The Garden's
2
busy.
nights. 2
Garden's
nights at the Garden.
busy to go.
2 nights at the Garden.
Dave
So-
Matthews
we
already
also,
2 nights at
three-
the Garden still?
Sorry, 3 nights at the Garden
They
because
do
they're
3
playing-
nights at the Garden?
Well, hold on. They have a solo concert on Saturday and Friday, Saturday. Then they have a benefit with Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. That's a cool band name.
The Night
Warren-
Sweats?
The Night Sweats?
Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. The Warren Haynes Band and Goose. Plus
Really?
very special guests.
They're
Trey
doing
Anastasio.
one.
Trey Anastasio, Robert Randolph is awesome. Joe Russo, Trombone Shorty, Mavis Staples, Susan Tedeschi, and Derek Trucks.
If you haven't heard of Susan Tedeschi, she is fantastic. Also, for music snobs out there, Warren Haynes, after the Allman Brothers revival in the early 90s, became their lead guitarist and later broke off to do some solo acts, including Government Mule, which is, if you haven't heard of them, they're awesome.
Government Mule. But yeah, that's why the Rangers are going to be out of
Rangers are-
town. That's why they're there, Roadie. Knicks games, Dave Matthews Band, and UFC.
Yeah.
basically.
At
Music
least with the
snobs,
Knicks,
Staniel
like,
Smooth.
at least if the Rangers are on a road trip, you just kind of figure, like, okay, the Knicks are probably dominating the Garden that week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not some weird Disney on Ice or something.
the Knicks and Dave Matthews Band. So
Yeah, Dave Matthews Band is not expected.
I'd rather have Pearl Jam, honestly.
I've
Pearl
seen
Jam or
Dave
Creed?
Matthews. Oh, I've seen Creed
Oh,
twice.
Creed.
They're fantastic.
They are.
They really are.
They really are.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, at the Rock, let's see what's coming up at the Rock besides Devils games. Blessed with Ryan Castro. I don't know what that is.
You
That's
think
gotta be
you
some
can go
religion
toe-to-toe in a promo battle against The Rock?
Then you got Cheyenne. Looks like a
Cheyenne?
Latino artist.
Is that a cigar?
Dude.
That's a
Yeah,
cigar
I was gonna
company.
say.
Dude. Then Full Gear AEW Full Gear on Saturday the 23rd.
Oh my Jesus Christ! That company.
Yep.
How are they still around?
And then
Because you know
then
why?
Villanova,
Because you
Maryland
have
on the 24th.
because the reason why AEW is still around is the exact same reason TNA has been around for 20 years. Is because they have a sicko fan base that will love and die for that company, and they will take no criticism for whatsoever. Shout out Dave Meltzer and hockey podcast, hockey podcast, hockey podcast, hockey podcast.
Gotta keep them calm.
All right. Well, that was the Rangers, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the New Jersey Devils, the week that was with the New Jersey Devils. They're currently playing. I'm still a little shocked that they're behind the San Jose Sharks, but we'll get to that in just a second. You are tuned in to the Three Rails Hockey Podcast on No Credentials Required.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, let's talk about some. Oop, not that. We'll talk about this Righteous Felon Craft Jerky.
Buttons.
It's damn good craft jerky. Let's talk about craft jerky a little bit. You know, you got yourself you need yourself a protein pickup in the afternoon. It's late in the afternoon. You're at work. You're running on fumes. You need something to kind of put something in your belly to get you that little edge between lunchtime and the morning and evening commute home to dinner time. You get yourself some Righteous Felon Craft Jerky.
You need a good old meat stick.
Well, not only do they have the meat sticks, which are 100% meat, unlike 100% beef, unlike those other convenience stores.
No,
Other
you
convenience
forgot
store.
to play the sound, Ryan.
Oh, my apologies.
The
Yes,
meat stick.
the meat stick.
Thank you.
Everyone loves a good old-fashioned meat party, you know what I'm saying?
I thought this was a craft jerky ad. But anyway, craft jerky, if I'm spelling craft jerky. Yes, they do have the 100% beef sticks, which is 100% beef, unlike the other convenience store brands whose primary ingredient is pulverized chicken. You don't want to snap into that. You want to snap into one of these from craft jerky. But Righteous Felon craft jerky. But they also have the original variety of flavors.
You don't want the fake meat, right,
You want-
ladies?
You don't want fake meat. You don't want fake meat. You want
Right,
real
ladies?
100% beef.
Where is it? Where is it?
All right, last one.
This might be the last righteous jerky ad.
This is probably the last Righteous Felon ad we ever have on here. You can probably get canceled. But
Damn it.
We knew it was coming eventually.
100%
Damn
craft,
it.
100% beef for all their products, including boys, dog treats. All natural dog treats, 100% beef there.
See, that's delightful.
That is delightful. Your puppy will enjoy that.
Don't forget the dog.
Don't forget the dog. Don't forget yourself. But this is what you want to do. Go to righteousfelon.com. Enter promo code BILLYUP at checkout. You get 15% off your order. But wait, there's more. For every order over $50, you get free shipping. So you can combine with the promo code and get extra savings with free shipping for every order over $50. So again, righteousfelon.com. Promo code BILLYUP at checkout. 15% off your order plus free shipping for every order over $50. All right, boys. It's time to
One more.
oh boy.
Everyone loves free meat.
Unless you're listening. She's coming back. She's coming back.
I mean, she has to go to the inauguration, right? She has
She's
to.
gotta do her repeat performance, man.
Gotta do it.
Gotta do the repeat performance. All right.
Live streaming, like get like someone to sponsor it, like
Live
Oh,
streams
man.
Money
her
on
2
this.
followers on Twitch, which is her husband and her cucked husband.
Her husband and her boyfriend. All right.
Shout out to the AEW Tag Team Champions, the Young Cucks, as I call them. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Let's go over to the Garden State.
oh, now he's dying.
He's dying. He wasn't
I
dying
had to.
last week, but he's dying this week.
I had to. I'm sorry. It was funny.
Oh my goodness. We're gonna get canceled. All right, the week that was chaos, pure
It's the
chaos.
best. It gets listeners.
Yes, it is. All right, so these New Jersey Devils had themselves a road trip of their own last week. They went 1-1 up until last Monday. They skunked. Here's the funny part. They skunked the Canucks on the Hughes Bowl 6-0. They get skunked by the Calgary Flames 3-0. Which that was a game that it was a Blake Coleman show where he scored 2 goals in the third period. And then they go over to Edmonton and they skunked the Edmonton Oilers. Granted, they did not have a certain number 97 Connor McDavid, who actually did return from his injury a couple nights later, but it was too late because New Jersey had rolled into town and had shut out the Edmonton Oilers. And that was a good game if you're a certain Jake Allen, who had his second shutout of the year. Stefan, the one guy I loved in this lineup, I loved this free agency pickup when they got him. Stefan Neusen, who gets those Stefan Neusen, which gets those dirty goals up in front. You see him at practice. I saw a clip of him at practice. After practice of Devils practice, he's in front of the goal and somebody's just shooting the pucks off the boards and he's just popping them in the net. It's like he practices this stuff. And he did the same thing against the Islanders on a Saturday. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, they conclude the road trip. They win 2 out of 3. They come home to Montreal, and they've struggled at home to start the year, but they played Montreal. They They took the game from pillar to post, thanks to Jack Hughes getting himself a goal and 2 assists. He's back. I think he's slowly returning to his form. He had a slow start to the year, but he's coming back to form, to what he had back in 2022, 2023, when he was 1 point away from the 100-point mark. The only time a Devil has come that close to 100 points. They've never had a 100-point scorer in a season, but he's back on pace. I think hopefully he'll score 100 points. And then Saturday, they played the New York Islanders, and I get this from Mr. Smooth in the chat.
Bring it on!
To which I replied, Jack called game, because we talked about it a little bit. Devils
I'm
fall
so
behind.
proud of you.
Devils fall behind 3-1 in the third period. 4:29 left in the game. Dawson Mercer scores, and then Noyson scores with less than a minute left to go to overtime. The Islanders, to their credit, had their chances to win the game outright.
I have a gator skull.
Oh,
He wants me to. This is his cue to say, stop talking about this game, because the Devils wound up beating the Islanders 4-3 in overtime.
trying to change the topic as quickly as possible.
Trying to change the topic. Currently, the Devils, as we were recording, are losing to the San Jose Sharks 1-0. That's what I hate about back-to-backs, man. They play great against one team. They come back, and actually, I have a fun fact for you guys. I found this on Twitter today. From Leo Scaglione. I believe he's a New Jersey Devils writer or insider.
Scaglione sounds like a very obscure pasta name.
Yes. And likely
Yes.
also from New Jersey, because Italian name.
Yeah.
But he wrote this today, prior to last night, which was I guess the Islanders. The last time the Devils won after trailing by 2 goals in the final 5 minutes of regulation was on February 5th, 2010. Against Toronto, and that was Ilya Kovalchuk's debut. By the way, fun fact: Ilya Kovalchuk's contract will be officially off the books after this season.
Woo!
Yes.
What?
Yes. If you go, I'm looking at Spot. I go to Spot Track. I was just looking at the Devils.
That can't be right. Hold on.
No, his retirement buyout. He's got a retirement buyout of $250,000.
Yeah.
So when he retired, went to Russia, then came back. The Devils had him on the payroll. He gets $250,000 a year up until this year, because that's how ridiculous that contract that Lou Lamoriello gave him back in the day. And then he retires.
You signed him to a 15-year contract?
Went into a 15-year contract.
You
Yep.
got Rick DiPietro.
By Bonita.
You
Let
got
me double check
DiPietro.
that contract.
Oh
Yeah,
my
he's
God.
actually still playing.
In Russia,
Is he
right?
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was 17 years, $102 million.
I want his agent.
I do too.
Well, that was back in the day where they had those ridiculous contracts of 10 years and $100+ million. And then after the CBA, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But then the NHL penalized the Devils for trying to circumvent the salary cap with his original contract. Devils lost $3 million, and subsequently after he retired, and it was just this whole ridiculous thing. So I guess that's after the 2012 playoffs where he left. That was right after he left that year, because that was the year that Henry scored in Game 6. But yeah, it was crazy. Like a retirement buyout. He gets $250,000 from the Devils every year until this year.
Traded
This is the last year.
Drafted by Atlanta first overall in 2001, by the way.
Yep.
Damn.
Unbelievable.
And he is
23 years later, he's still playing.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's not playing anymore. He on April 9th, he announced his retirement from professional hockey. So,
Oh, okay.
but
22
he's not
years
playing anymore.
playing professional.
Like a true professional, but you're still playing. That's fun.
I don't know how, but
I don't know
whatever.
how.
Well, if you own the club, you can do whatever you want.
Must be
Former
something.
New Jersey Devil, by the way.
Must be the fountain of youth, whatever he found over there in Russia. Slovakia?
No.
Oh, Czech Republic.
Slovakia.
Czech
Oh,
Republic
yeah,
also-
Czech.
Czech Republic. Czechia. Sorry, Czechia. Sorry, you can't call it Czech Republic anymore.
Check this out.
Heyo.
I'm waiting for the crickets, but okay.
No, I don't have crickets.
I waited
I'm
so
gonna
long
make
for
you one.
something.
I'll
It's
make
on
you
nothing.
one.
Like, oh, okay. I guess we just move on.
I'll
I'll just say this instead. I'll just say this instead.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Good enough.
Oh, loop. Dang it.
I was
Get
gonna
off the
make
loop.
you, but the SpongeBob sound was like, "Oh, brother, this guy stinks."
Hold on. Do I have it? Do I
Oh,
have
he has
Do I
it.
have
He
Do I have
guarantee he has it.
Well,
Watch this, folks.
Oh man, it's not in this file. But
Damn,
I do
you
have-
computers.
dang it, I had it in the wrong place. Well, anyway. But yeah, decent week for the good week for the Devils. 3 games, 3 wins. Unfortunately, they're struggling in a struggle bus right now against San Jose of all teams, the worst team in the league. I don't know how that happened. It's a back-to-back. So
Yeah, it's back to back. You look over
you overlooked them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'll take first place in the division so far. Even though we have
Good.
2 games, even though they have 2 games over on Carolina, I'll take first place right now. And it's usually around this time of year, between like usually by Thanksgiving, if you're in a good position, you'll be in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen teams collapse, absolutely collapse, but it doesn't usually happen that often. But by Thanksgiving in the United States, if you're in a decent position where you're in the top 3 or top 4 of your division, you're likely going to make the playoffs. So that's what I want to see from the Devils this year. I wanted to see them
Memorial
beat.
Day in baseball. How like if you're in the playoff on Memorial Day, you're make the playoffs in baseball. Same story with hockey.
Football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, NFL is a different animal, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
you never know who's going to
You
come
would
out.
know
but-
that for a fact.
Let's not talk about that. But
Trying
Check-
everything.
Tis but a flesh wound.
yeah. But back to the Devils. You know, this week they got Florida coming up. They got to travel to Florida for a Tuesday and a Thursday. Then they play at Tampa on Saturday. That's a rough schedule right there, because even though Florida lost all those guys, all the players they lost from the offseason, they're still in what? They're still first. They're first place currently in the Atlantic Division.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Which
what
is how
happens when
mixed
you have
that
good
is.
coaching.
Yeah, Paul Maurice is a good coach.
Palmer
So
is
you
a
got-
coach.
So they got 2 games in Sunrise, and they traveled to Tampa, and they've had trouble with Tampa for a very long time, including that 8-4 loss a few weeks ago, which I was kind of questioning everything. But that was when Luke Hughes was coming back. That was when Brett Pesce was back on the ice. They were paired together for the first time, and things went rough. But I did see that Shimon Nemec got sent down to Utica this week, just to get some reps and to get some more pro experience, because he's been struggling lately too. And they brought up Nick DeSimone from Utica. Also when Utica fired their head coach, the Devils fired their Utica Comets head coach. They're starting the year 0-8-2. Yikes! But no, I mean, good week. Hopefully they'll play well in Florida. And if I'm looking at the current standings in the ECHL, the Adirondack Thunder, they're in 5th place, but they've played only 6 games compared to other teams. So decent week for the Devils. Hopefully they get a goal the next couple minutes against the Sharks, because don't want to lose against the Sharks. Oh, they're on the power play. Okay, so
There you go.
So we'll take that. Hopefully they get the win, but if they don't, it's not a bad way to. It's not terrible. There's worse ways to end the week, like as in not winning a game. Period, in a week in 4 games. But that's the
Yeah.
Devils. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to finish up the show, talk about the NHL Hall of Fame inductions. The ceremonies are going on this week, and we have several new we have a bunch of new inductees, which is pretty cool. So let's go over them. We've got Shea Weber,
Deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Roenick,
Yes.
Pavel Datsyuk,
The Magic Man.
Natalie Darwitz, and Chrissy Wendell Pohl played for, I believe they both played for the United States women's hockey teams. And in the builders category, you've got Colin Campbell and David Poyle, as they will be in the Hall of Fame. They'll be inducted on Monday. So let's talk about these inductions, guys. Solid lineup here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Poyle's nice. Poyle's the all-time wins leader by GM in history.
Yep.
Shea Weber was an Iron Man of a defenseman with Nashville for a very long time. Pavel Datsyuk, the Magic Man. The Magic Man. Jeremy Roenick was, I don't know how long. Why did it take Roenick this long to get in?
Good question.
Because he's a loudmouth.
That too. Who's the other guy that is like, what is he, like 10th in points?
Theo
And
Fleury.
is still, what?
Theo Fleury.
He's still not in, right?
Theo Fleury is not in the Hall of Fame.
Amazing.
Because politics.
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
course
that's
it is.
right.
Ridiculous.
That's
They gotta
right.
rethink this whole voting system. Like, just look at what he did on the ice.
That's basically what it should be. But
Uh,
unfortunately, we've got writers, and
Mhm.
this is my problem with writers and media
Oh, yeah.
deciding who gets in the Hall of Fame. They got to do it like the NFL, where the players have to state their case. Same
Baseball,
with the NBA.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no, not necessarily. No, baseball. It's done by the writers.
This one needs to change.
No, baseball needs to change. Is what
Oh,
I'm saying,
that's what.
'cause
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
because-
I know that's what you meant.
it's ridiculous because you have a bunch of guys that, no, you're right, Ryan. There's a bunch of guys that should be in the Hall of Fame, and then there's guys that should not be in the Hall of Fame. Jaromir Jagr should have been in the Hall of Fame, what, like 2-3 years ago? But you can't because he's still technically playing overseas. There's guys that should be getting in the Hall of Fame like yesterday. You know? It's insane. How long did it take for Pierre Turgeon to get in the Hall of Fame?
Gosh, a long
Former
time.
Islander, by the way.
Yep.
Pierre Turgeon.
Yep.
Like, there's a couple guys that should absolutely be considered for the Hall of Fame. Butch Goring. Great player, decent coach.
13 years for Turgeon.
Okay,
I was
Butch
born
Goring.
2010. Got it in 2023.
Butch Goring was a very good player for the LA Kings and then later traded to the Islanders, which is he was probably one of the driving forces behind the 4 straight cups. He's not in.
You know who's also not in the Hall of Fame? Alexander Mogilny.
That was the guy I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Can we also we are 3 Metropolitan hockey fans.
Yes.
What would it take for Stan Fischler to finally get in the Hall of Fame?
Dying.
Yeah, I was gonna say dying.
What would it take?
I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to be
I'm not-
mean
I
or
know
trying to be
you're not
cruel,
kidding.
but it's going to take him dying. I mean, he's currently in his 90s. He's still
He's
going
the
strong.
Maven.
He is the Maven.
He's the Maven. He should have been in like 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
No, he should have been.
But it's
should be in as a builder.
ridiculous.
Yeah, he should be in as a builder because
Yes.
he built the New York media when it came to Metro hockey.
Yes.
I have one of his books. He predicted he was the guy who predicted the events of what happened in 2004 based on the things that happened in 94.
The lockout, right?
The lockout that turned into a canceled season. He basically predicted it
Yes.
in that book.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you not
There
have
is-
that guy in the Hall of Fame?
There is one of the guys. That's one of the guys I would have him on my podcast on BS sessions, just to hear him tell stories.
Oh my
gosh.
god.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Him and probably Mick Foley, Long Island's own Mick Foley, by the way.
Mick Foley's kind of gone insane,
I would like to have Mick
Kind of
Foley.
makes it better.
unfortunately.
I would love to have Mick Foley. I think, honestly, between Stan Fischler and Jim Cornette, probably Stan.
What about Kevin James?
don't know.
Another New York, another Long Islander who went to the same high school as Mick Foley, I believe.
Yeah, War Millville.
Yeah.
Not too far from me.
And I believe Mick Foley played lacrosse as well.
But I would love to hear Cornette's just hearing him talk about old wrestling like history. because that man is a walking wrestling historian. You want to get you want to know about the wrestling business from top to bottom? Listen to Cornette. He should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, by the way.
He's a weird guy too.
He is a weird guy, but he has his defenses. Like, I don't blame him for wanting to piss on Vince Russo's grave.
I personally, I was a big something to wrestle with guy with Jim with Bruce Pritchard. His impression of Jim Cornette is
I love Corny. It's the best. By the way, the Rock and Roll Express, not the Rock and Roll, the Midnight Express is long overdue for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
overdue.
I actually brought up a list of the injuries that Shea Weber had in 2021.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. He had torn meniscus, both of his thumbs. He had ankle problems. Like, is incredible.
That's a hockey player right there.
Exactly.
He said, yeah, basically I was just a walking skating ball of tape.
What's that scene from SpongeBob where it's like
every morning I wake up and break my arms.
I take a step, I break my arms.
And then every night I break my legs.
Every night. That's great. Oh, it's fantastic.
But yeah, I mean, guys, we got to talk about some other guys who are not in the Hall of Fame that should be in the Hall of Fame. Actually, there's one player who, because this is a Metro Hockey podcast, another player who should be in the Hall of Fame, Patrick Elias.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All-time leading scorer for the New Jersey Devils in goals, assists, points, power play.
If not for Martin Brodeur, he's the greatest player in franchise history.
Truth.
Mm-hmm.
Truth.
Without even hesitation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Without hesitation.
What about you, Brian? Who's a former New York Ranger, who's been a straight New York Ranger who should be in the Hall of Fame?
I gotta think about that. It's a great question trying to think top of my head right now. Trying to think of the 2014 teams that are going.
Is Ryan McDonough still playing?
Where is he now?
I got one
in Nashville.
Yes, I think he's weirdly in Nashville. But if not, he's one.
He's definitely in the back nine of his career.
Yeah,
is
he's one that's
Hall of Fame.
I was just gonna look that up if Brian Leach was in the Hall.
I was about to say
if he's not, he should be in.
As top scoring American defenseman, yes, he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think he is.
If he isn't.
Nope, he wasn't in 09.
He's in?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's that Ranger I'm thinking of that was part of the 94 team that didn't get in the Hall of Fame yet?
Mike Gartner? No, he wasn't in the 94 team.
Is Richter in?
Richter,
I believe, is
gotta be. Mike Richter's gotta be in.
Mike Richter's not in.
Really?
I don't think he's not in. Fact check me on that.
I'm
trying to remember.
He's in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame.
He's in the
Does
U.S.
not
Hockey.
say the actual Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Mike
So
Richter's
he's
not in.
That's the answer. It's Mike Richter.
Mike Richter's not in.
That's the answer. It's Mike Richter.
That's
Should go in.
crazy.
How is he not in?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Isn't
bad.
Mike Richter second in franchise history in save percentage?
Yeah. If it wasn't for Henrik Lundqvist, he'd be the greatest Ranger goaltender of all time.
He would be. Yes.
Yeah.
Another guy,
Wow.
another Devils guy who should be in the Hall of Fame is not in the Hall of Fame is Ken Danico. Mr. Devil himself.
Who else am I thinking of? Ryan or Brian, do me a favor. I want you to look up John Tonelli's stats from the 80s. I think because I'm thinking who's in? Bossy's in. Gillies is in.
Smith.
Nystrom's in.
Billy Smith.
Billy Smith is in. Denny Potvin's in. Arguably the greatest centerman in franchise history. Brian Trottier is in. I know that. Between Goring and Stan Fischler, I think those two should be in.
I agree.
What's
Stan Fischler.
What's Butchie's stats?
Butch Goring. His stats are as follows.
Yeah. He's played more than 1,000 games, I know that.
1,107 games,
Okay.
375 goals, 513 assists for 888 points total. Started his career with the Los Angeles Kings.
Yes.
And then was traded
know
to the
that.
Islanders during the 1980 season. And that's when he won the 4 Stanley Cups with them.
Arguably the greatest trade in franchise history. Arguably. So I think by the points and the cups alone, I think gets him consideration.
Butch Goring being the greatest trade in Islanders history. I suspect that Mark Messier's trade was the greatest in Rangers history.
Yeah,
for the Devils,
Is Bill Torrey in? Bill Torrey has to be in.
Bill Torrey?
The architect.
Oh, Bill Torrey. Okay.
Bill Torrey has to be in because he's been gone for a while. If he's not in the Hall of Fame,
95. In 95 he was in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank God. Okay.
Yeah, and for the New Jersey Devils greatest trade, Scott Stevens, because he was the back end of that team for all 3 of those cups. So
Where was he traded from again?
he was drafted by St. Louis, and then he was traded to Washington, and then he got traded from Washington to the Devils.
You think the Capitals regret that?
Yeah, they do, because
A little bit. Just a tad.
just a tiny bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was originally Washington Capitals. Then he went to St. Louis.
You think St. Louis regrets that at all?
And then St. Louis definitely regrets it. They hate Lou Lamoriello.
The Blues look at it as like, "'Tis but a scratch."
Yeah, they tried to circumvent that trade, but that's where the nickname Loophole Lou came in, because he found a loophole in the trade, and actually managed to get St. Louis to give them compensation for additional picks because of certain dealings.
I love that.
Do you think Lou Lamoriello tells great stories?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
If Lou eventually does retire, I think he'd be great to listen to for him to tell stories.
Yeah.
He'd be fantastic.
Yeah, he would.
He'd be amazing.
For sure.
I think between him and Scotty Bowman.
Scotty Bowman's still around?
Amazingly. I think Lou would be. I think Lou and Stan Fischler, if you get those two together and just have a cigar with either one of them, it'd be a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably would be. I mean, the hockey stories going back and forth for those two would be incredible.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
You're in a
right,
book
gentlemen.
on that conversation.
Yeah. Oh, he'll write a tell-all as soon as he's done, or he'll do a big old marathon.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here, but before we do that, let's tell everybody where you can find our stuff. Brian, tell the people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Twitter at BrianPG1016. You can find my other podcast, the Third and 10 podcast I do with my co-host Nathan about New York Giants football and sports in general over on YouTube, Third and 10 podcast. And finally, BellyUpSports.com. You can find all my articles there. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Smooth, when can people find you?
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you can find me at Staniel Smooth on Twitter, Instagram, Time to BS Podcast on Twitter, Instagram. Also on YouTube, you can find Time to BS with Staniel Smooth, The Staniel Smooth Show, and BS Sessions, all on the Time to BS YouTube page. Also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Good Pods.
Yes, Good Pods. Yes, they're good friends too.
Yes.
And as for me, my personal Twitter and Instagram, it's whoisRyanMCC. And you can also find No Credentials Required here on Facebook, facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, Twitter, Instagram, the scarcely used TikTok at NoCredsREQ, youtube.com/@NoCredsREQ. And the podcast side, you can find the podcast on any podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, TuneIn, iHeart, and Pandora. And don't forget to get notified on Twitter and on YouTube, so you know when videos like this come up. or we do a live show, which is OG show on Tuesdays at 7:05 Eastern. Although this week will be at 8:05 Eastern because Dustin and I got a workshop to go to, which is pretty cool. And the Saturday show, 10 o'clock Eastern, will be live, and we'll be talking about football, primarily talking about football for now. But we might sprinkle in a couple of 10 good minutes here and there, in addition to Three Rails Metro Hockey Podcast, which we want to thank you for tuning into. The Three Rails Metro Hockey Podcast, which is a no credentials required podcast. And as always, it's a part of the Belly Up Sports Media Network. For Brian, for Staniel San, I'm Ryan McCarthy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep your head up. Watch out for loose pucks. And mind the gap.
And hit the toy department.
Sure.
Yeah.
No? No one got that?
No.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.